Okay, so I want to talk about writing tonight. If you're an aspiring writer, if you want to write a book, if you want to write a screenplay or something, let me first and foremost let you know what you're getting into. A lot of people seem to have this token embedded in their brain that, writing's this easy thing. From my experience, it's kind of a mixed bag. There's days when it goes good, and there's days when it goes bad. And there's always the thought of self-doubt, self-defeat, sort of this narcissistic intake in your brain where something's not good enough, and you think you need to be, maybe a little more analyzing and detailing a scene, or you're just concerned about your prose or something like that. It can also delve into the area of, is my story too serious, or is it not serious enough? Is it too fantastical, or is it not fantastical enough? As Stefan Molyneux recently put it in his video, he was talking to, I can't remember what the guy's name was, but the dude had recently written a book and was talking about how he didn't want to write another book, and I completely feel the same way after finishing my first book. I don't ever want to write another book again, especially because the book I just wrote took 4 fucking years for me to write. So, Molyneux put it just like, I think he said, the point, when a book is done is when you're ready to tear your eyes out because you're tired of looking at it, whether it's good or not. You just don't want to fucking deal with it. And I think, I'm not going to say I think that's the truth. For my experience, that is pretty accurate. That's how I feel towards a lot of things I write. When I get to that point, I'm like, okay, it's done. I don't want to look at it again, and get it out of my sight, man. But I'm gonna tell you that there's a lot of pain in writing, and there's a lot of release in writing, and there's a lot of beauty in writing. But yeah, you're going to be driven into a screaming, raving madman, especially if it's like fiction or something. I don't mean to be being morbid or anything, but there's a lot of writers out there who suffered from depression. They committed suicide, or they died mysterious deaths, such as Edgar Allan Poe, or they just got bored with themselves and took the route out with painting the walls red. It's such a fascinating issue, but it's very. You're going to come into grips with a lot of things, because I think writing, you're kind of trying to make an interpretation of the world, and especially if you're like me and you write horror, you're going to make these really fucking freaky analogies. I mean, look at Lovecraft, look at the things he wrote, they were stark raving mad. Like, you gotta think in some context that he himself was stark raving mad. And when you kind of delve into his lifestyle and understand him a little bit more, he was psychotically afraid of everything. He was a teetotaler. A lot of people give him a lot of hate recently because he was, a racist, or he said a few xenophobic things. But again, not everyone's perfect, and I don't think you should dissuade Lovecraft's work simply because he had some xenophobic thoughts. He wasn't marching up and down the streets wearing a Nazi uniform or anything. He actually died before World War II broke out, but he was there in this building, and it's coming up, and he had some incredibly fascinating work, but he was very impoverished, he was very poor, he wasn't very successful at all, and I don't think many people liked his stories. But none of them were really on point with being racist or anything. His stories were strictly weird, bizarre, cosmic horror, fucking weird deities crawling out of ancient cities buried underground. And again, it reverts back to the point where he said he was psychotically afraid of everything. He was a teetotaler. I think he interpreted some of that into his own work, and I plan on making a video about him sooner or later. Just kind of give you a brief scenario of what he's about. But again, this goes into lines with making sort of the argument that getting into writing, it's going to affect you mentally because you're going to storm up weird things, especially if you're going to write fiction, horror, such as I write. And the ideas that you storm up in your mind, you sometimes tend to think that, yes, this is actually how the world works, even though you're making a fictional piece towards something. So it's like I write the same sort of cosmic horror H.P. Lovecraft wrote, and a lot of writers kind of theorize in their work how the universe works. In Lovecraft's world, it was kind of particularly no hope whatsoever. You're fucking doomed. So in my own writing, I have imagined worlds in the same essence, where it's just like it's horrifyingly. Some of my short stories that I've written were kind of one-dimensional, where it's like there is no hope. There's just this cruel, merciless god, or gods, or deities, or strange cosmic beings that somehow got here from some other strange world, or wherever you want to say it came from. A lot of weird stuff. It's hard to get into that field and talk about it, especially when you got dealing with these ads right here. But yeah, I'm kind of going off point here. But I just would like to demonstrate to anyone who wishes to write a story or write a book, to be good at it. It's like, here's the thing with me. The people who find writing hard, I think those are the ones who take it a bit more stringent and seriously, and perhaps have a pretty good amount of creativity behind them, and a good amount of intellect and storytelling, and laying out the work and making it good enough. They're the ones who are probably going to suffer the most when it comes to writing, when it comes to this narcissistic sort of processing. Is it good? Is it bad? I tend to think that the people who are good at writing are going to suffer from these thoughts of self-doubt the most. I mean, if you look at Stephen King, his first book, Carrie, he finished the manuscript and then he threw it away. He threw it away because he had that much self-doubt, and his wife, pulled it out of the wastebasket, had beer stains all over it, cigarette burns, and she's like, honey, or dude, or whatever, you gotta turn this in. And I mean, it just goes to show that some of the greatest writers do have a lot of self-doubt, and you gotta realize that self-doubt is pretty crippling at points. But yeah, you finish something sometimes and you just want to throw it away and you don't want to look at it ever again, which is what I've done before. And I necessarily don't want to do it again, but there's those undertakings, and that is the first video of this. I have to take a break real quick.